the Veep stakes. The big news that happened was that Nicole Shanahan was, let me see if I can pull this up for you, but she was reported to be the VP pick for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, you might be wondering, who is Nicole Shanahan? Yeah, all of us kind of wondered that. This is somebody that is not a name that we're familiar with, and for a reason. She's been a behind-the-scenes person running her own businesses, and also she was married. She's a Bay Area lawyer. She's a big Democratic donor, I would assume voter as well. She clearly is no longer wanting to be part of that because she's now backing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. She was married to Google co-founder and is now divorced. Apparently, the rumors are that they got a divorce because she allegedly had an affair with Elon Musk. However, both her and Elon Musk vehemently denied those rumors. So suddenly we get these reports that Nicole Shanahan is the VP pick. And everybody's like, who the hell is this person? So let me just read some of this New York Times article to you. But she is the one who was the primary financial backer of Kennedy's Super Bowl ad. That was $5 million. So she's got cash. She's young. She was married to a billionaire. She has a lot of cash. She's 38 years old. And she spent $5 million, or she was a major donor for that campaign ad. I don't know if she was the sole donor, but she was the main one. So that was expensive. They said that and that ad, by the way, was not bought by the Kennedy campaign. That was done by the Super PAC. So she's a large funder for the Super PAC that is backing. Now, Super PACs are not supposed to be coordinating or discussing or even in communication with the campaign. So she did that on her own. But now she's suddenly emerging as a VP pick, and that kind of raises some eyebrows, because if the Super PAC is not supposed to have any communication whatsoever with the campaign, then what is she doing emerging as a VP pick, especially as somebody that nobody has heard? She's never, she's a young businesswoman who was married to a billionaire, and what qualifications does she have to become president of the United States? I mean, that's what the VP role is. It's the role of, you will become president if something happens to the president. And let's face it, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., if he becomes president, something could happen to him. Something happened to his father. Something happened to his uncle. He's extremely anti-establishment. I mean, who knows, right? So if he would be taken out for some reason, she would end up being the president, and everybody's kind of wondering, well, what kind of qualifications does she have to become president? Why would we trust her? She's not somebody that's been outspoken, that's made the circuit on being outspoken against the establishment or for free speech or against wars or any of these things that Kennedy claims that he stands for. So it's just really odd, and it's extremely suspicious considering she's the one who paid significant amounts for that $5 million Super Bowl ad. So it almost looks like you could buy your way into his administration. That's what this name looks like. So this name was leaked by the campaign. Now she's the third on the list that has been leaked. We heard last week that Aaron Rodgers was on the list. We heard that Jesse Ventura was on the list. And now suddenly, and people were very critical of those names. People were like, Aaron Rodgers, oh my gosh, he's a Sandy Hook conspiracy theorist. Then they said about Jesse Ventura, well, the guy's, in his old age, he's a character. He's quite the character. But at least with Jesse Ventura, he also has at least a history of speaking up against the establishment, of being bold, saying what he thinks. You might not agree with the guy on things. I know I certainly didn't when it came to COVID and whatnot, but the fact that he's now backing RFK Jr., with RFK Jr. being as loud as he was about COVID, maybe Jesse Ventura changed his mind on that. But it just goes to show that Jesse Ventura is a man that he is just marching to the beat of his own drum. He's a leader. People love him. So that name made sense. But Aaron Rodgers was like, whoa, out of left field. What is going on here? And this Nicole Shanahan is like, out of left field. Who is this person? What are you doing? Now, the Kennedy campaign denies. Now, they did leak her name. They have admitted now that Nicole Shanahan was on the short list for the VP. Again, that alone just makes me scratch my head. Her and Aaron Rodgers, why in the world? Just because they back you, because they donate money to your campaign. I would assume both of them very large donors. Aaron Rodgers has a lot of money. So that's really suspicious. These people are not anybody that I would consider capable of leading the country, because they just haven't showcased being real fierce. I mean, Aaron Rodgers during COVID was definitely fierce about not wanting to take the vaccine. But other than that, I haven't really seen Aaron Rodgers. I just don't know if I would put my trust in him to become president of the United States if something happened to RFK Jr. And remember, that is what the VP's role actually is. They're just there waiting for something. If something were to happen to the president, that's their job. So the campaign has verified. Now they're like, oh no, you have to wait till March 26th. So Stephanie Spears, spokeswoman for the Kennedy campaign, said, quote, "There's been a lot of speculation in the media," and added that the official announcement would be on March 26th in Oakland, California. So here's his daughter-in-law, but she's also his campaign manager. This is Amaryllis Fox. So Amaryllis Fox, this is the tweet. She put out a big, huge tweet about this whole thing. Let me just read this to you. This is a long one. So, but she says, oh boy, this media. Because everybody started reporting on Nicole Shanahan. I even brought it up about her name, saying, I hope this is not the case, because who the hell is this person? And this looks like you can buy your way into his administration. If she spent $5 million on a Super Bowl ad and suddenly she's named possible VP, I mean, that's really weird. So Amaryllis Fox writes, oh boy, this media, they were sure about Aaron. Now they're sure about Nicole. Tomorrow they'll be sure about somebody else. The truth is, they're just going to have to wait until we all get to celebrate Bobby's brilliant running mate together in 10 days. While I can't share a name, I will say that I could not be more thrilled with Bobby's decision. He ran a thorough process and has chosen a vice president who is truly worthy of the American people. Regarding the candidates mentioned in the media, each has brought their own incomparable skills, experience, and mindset to the campaign in different ways. I'm profoundly grateful for them all. Nicole Shanahan has indeed been among those conversations. So they're verifying right there that, yes, her name was in the running for VP. That, to me, is already... That's like Betsy DeVos. You know, it's like a Betsy DeVos situation where she was a big donor to the Trump campaign and then she ends up becoming the Secretary of Education. That's so I think that they're throwing these names out there, quite honestly, because they plan to probably put these people in the administration. And even once again, that's suspect. You should not be able to buy your way in, but that's how it is. That's not unique to RFK Jr. That's all of them. But I would hope that an anti-establishment, and also like the drain the swamp candidate, Donald Trump, I would expect them to choose qualified people for positions rather than people that they're just, oh, you did me a solid during the campaign, so I'm going to give you a position. But that's sort of how it is. So they say, Amaryllis goes on to say her work on behalf of honest governance, racial equity, regenerative agriculture, and children's and maternal health reflects many of our country's most urgent needs. Her decade-long focus on safeguarding our democracy against the dangers of AI and leveraging it instead to detect government corruption and abuses on behalf of the people. This is a crucial knowledge base that our current leaders in Washington lack. America is very lucky to have Nicole Shanahan in its corner, and it's one of the highlights of the VP discernment process to get to know her incredible body of work. Now, listen, she may very well be very capable of running a particular department. I'm sure something regarding cybersecurity or, I'm not 100% certain what her qualifications are. And, but she very well might have a lot. So maybe she would be qualified for a cabinet position. I don't know, or maybe not, right? There have been other highlights as well. So she goes on to mention other candidates. She says Mike Rowe's tireless effort on behalf of working people, his command of economic policy, his fluency in every aspect of our history, and the vital lessons it offers us today. I'm deeply inspired by his sense of duty to our country, our children, and our shared future. So they bring up Mike Rowe. Aaron Rodgers' instinct to choose service to others over his own financial interest, his commitment to America's physical and mental health, his work to legitimize treatment of veterans and trauma survivors with psychedelic therapies, and his consistent record of keeping the courage of his convictions inspire and move me. I don't know, Secretary of like the Department of Health and Human Services. Is that what they're doing here? They're like greasing us up for when these people are going to be put into the administration. Tricia Lindsay's bravery in speaking truth to power and the scope of her constitutional knowledge, her skill as a speaker and compassion as a human leave me sure that corruption will never fully vanquish this country, not with such honorable and brilliant fighters in the people's corner. So what was that like? She would be the DA, right? Like, what are all the cabinet positions? I mean, but it feels like they're starting to kind of make this list, right? So say Nicole, 37, Aaron, 40, and several unnamed others have been particularly compelling candidates for Bobby because of his strong commitment to champion the interests of young people and to start by ensuring they have real seats at a table so often dominated by ancient career politicians whose choices have bankrupted future generations. Yeah, okay, I could get along with that. That's fine. Great. Yeah, we do need young people in government. But we also need wise people who have experience and who've been around for a long time. So we need a mix. We need a mix. There have been many other powerful conversations during this process, some with their own links to Oakland, but I can't give any more away, so you'll have to tune in to the live stream or join us in person on the 26th. The one thing I can tell you for certain is that you will be as thrilled as I am with Bobby's choice and all that it heralds for our shared national future. Okay, great. So they're basically not ruling any of those names out. She didn't say it's none of these people. She said these people are on the list, but you're just going to have to wait for the name. It doesn't exclude that it could be one of the Trisha, Nicole, Aaron, Mike Rowe, or Jesse Ventura. It doesn't, by the way, she didn't bring up Jesse Ventura in this diatribe that she just wrote up on Twitter. So, it could be it could be Jesse Ventura. I don't know. Look, the only candidate that would inspire, it would be amazing if he said Rand Paul is my running mate. That, I think, would draw many of us who are very skeptical of his campaign because of this kind of crap, guys. I'm not, I mean, look, like naming these people that are just giant donors to your campaign. Nicole Shanahan, nobody knows who that is. We now know that she spent $5 million on the Super Bowl ad. She's filthy rich. She's probably put a lot of money into the super PAC. And now she's potentially up for some administration job. What about Rabbi Shmuley? Clearly, that guy also has a lot of money. Also, probably a major funder of his campaign, which is why he's standing next to him all the time. And going along with this pro-Israel at all costs narrative. And it looks, and Aaron Rodgers, obviously also very wealthy. I like Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure I would like Nicole. I mean, I don't know. I've never heard from her at all. I like Jesse Ventura. Fine. I think he threw his name out there because people really love Jesse Ventura. There's questions on whether or not he would run for president. So he's a big name in that space. But these others are donors. These others are rich people who've been funding the campaign. And now he's going to, it looks to me like you can buy Bobby. I mean, that's as much as I hate that because I was such a big fan of his campaign. I've been such a big, excited to see him possibly really take on the establishment, but it's extremely disappointing to see him waving the Israeli flag with Rabbi Shmuley while Rabbi Shmuley's over there hawking sex toys with his daughter, while then reports come out that RFK Jr. flew on Epstein's jet a couple of times. That's not good. Those connections don't look good. And he's like staunchly for Israel, no matter what. You got Shmuley there, and you've got these Epstein links. And the only people who could verify what was actually going on in that plane are dead, Epstein and his ex-wife. I mean, I don't mean to be irreverent, but at the same time, we got to be honest. And that's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to be, especially on this show. We're just being honest. This looks to me extremely suspicious that these people are wealthy. They're donors to his campaign. And now their names are randomly being thrown out there for VP pick. Clearly, these people are actually up for cabinet positions in his administration. I would like to see who his VP pick is. I'm going to be definitely tuning in March 26th to find out. Hoping the name just like knocks my socks off. I'm sure you're hoping so too, because they're really hyping this up and they're playing the game. And I get it. This is. But you know what? Honestly, and they keep saying, "Oh, we already have the person picked. We already know who it is." I don't buy that. I don't actually buy that. Let me actually just play this for you. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. actually made a statement about his VP pick and all the speculation.
Hey, everybody. You probably heard by now that I'm about to announce my running mate, the person who will serve as my vice president. Those press reports got some of the details wrong, but on March 26th in Oakland, I'm going to straighten it all out. I'm going to announce that day an extraordinary running mate who's going to be my partner in governance. I can't tell you who it is right now, but I can tell you that I could not possibly have found a better partner for governing this country. And I'll give you another hint. This announcement is really going to shake up the political establishment. I'd love for you to join me in Oakland to welcome this dynamic individual into our campaign. We're about to take my campaign to a whole new level.
Okay. So again, no names, no real indication of who the person is. And you could say that about anybody without even really solidifying who you think your VP candidate is going to be. So he might not actually know. He says, I know we're going to announce it March 26th, but he could still be vetting all of these candidates. And one of the reasons why their names are being floated is to get our reactions, to see, to test the waters with these names, to see, how do people react to Aaron Rodgers? Are people thrilled about Aaron Rodgers, or are they like skeptical? How would people feel about this young, beautiful Nicole Shanahan, who's wealthy and intelligent and all these wonderful qualities? How would they feel about her? Testing the waters. Testing the waters with Governor Jesse Ventura. I just feel like these are water testing name drops. And I, as much as Kennedy and Amaryllis and also Del Bigtree when he's on the show claim that, yes, he's already selected. That could all just be hot air in order to, because nobody's been really thrilled about really any of the VP picks. But if he chooses Rand Paul, that's going to be a big shakeup. I think a lot of people who are really against his campaign might turn back onto it. Even though Rand Paul is also extremely pro-Israel, he's not as outspoken about it. He doesn't seem to care about that issue that much, but he is pro-Israel if you look at his past rhetoric. Or Arnold Schwarzenegger, that was somebody Del Bigtree brought up, but that would cause constitutional issues. The president and the vice president are supposed to be natural-born citizens of the United States. But this would bring a lot of attention to his campaign if Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example, was named as his VP pick, and they had to go to court in order to overturn, in order to clarify what the natural-born citizenship clause actually reads, which, if you've watched this show, then you know that Dr. Shiva who is not born in this country and is running for president, has made very compelling cases as to why he can, and same with Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, who's also running for president. They all claim that it is actually possible. It just hasn't been challenged in court. So maybe that would be good press if that's who he names. So we'll see. We'll see what goes on there, but that's the latest. Let's move on to Donald Trump's VP pick. What we now know is, all the people who wanted Vivek Ramaswamy to be his running mate. Apparently, Trump says, no, it will not be Vivek. Vivek will not be his VP. But he says, but we're looking at him for some other things. We like him for something else, possibly for maybe Homeland Security Secretary or something else. But here's the story from Zero Hedge. Donald Trump personally told Vivek Ramaswamy that he's been ruled out as a running mate. However, the former president is eyeing a cabinet job, including the Homeland Security Secretary role. According to the report, some Trump allies see Ramaswamy as ideal for the job because they say he excels at public speaking and as an Indian American son of an immigrant could neutralize criticism of sweeping immigration restrictions. Their conversation is just one of many that Trump has had recently with allies about administration positions as he seized hold of the Republican nomination. Loyalty, ideological compatibility, and perceived electoral power are the metrics by which Trump is evaluating possible picks, according to people familiar with the process who spoke on the condition of anonymity. Yeah, I think those are good what you need if you're Trump. Loyalty. I mean, you really need loyalty if you're Donald Trump in the administration. He is going to be picking a lot of loyal people. I can't blame the guy at all. I mean, last time he was president, there were people writing to the mainstream news saying, I'm here and I'm undermining him any chance I can. I'm part of the resistance, but I'm serving in the Trump administration. So yeah, loyalty would be a big one. Ideological compatibility, right? Okay. Says that those who have impressed Trump and his team for possible cabinet roles include another former GOP primary foe, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, as well as Representative Elise Stefanik. So this right here, Elise Stefanik. So she was the one that grilled all of the college professors saying, asking them is our calls for genocide against your code of conduct at the university? And the presidents hemmed and hawed, and we're not willing to say, yes, of course, calls for genocide are against our code of conduct, because in a world of free speech, you cannot, for one, Elise Stefanik's definition of calls for genocide included just saying free Palestine. If you say that, that's a call for genocide, according to Elise Stefanik. But also, we do live in a free country. You should be able to make statements, even if they're really abhorrent. And as long as you don't act on those statements, or there's no indication of those actions, then, free speech is free speech, and that's how it works. And so that's how those presidents responded. But Elise was the one who became really famous and popular off of her line of questioning, calling these presidents and really getting them, they lost their jobs over it. So she's apparently in the running. That says something. Trump he recently made a comment saying, you're not really Jewish. He kind of pulled a Joe Biden when he said, you're not really black unless you vote for me. Trump did the same thing. He says, you're not really Jewish if you are critical of Israel and Netanyahu. I mean, it's just kind of insane. But Trump is not going to be any better than Biden when it comes to Israel. Trump is not going to be any better than RFK Jr. when it comes to Israel. When it comes to Israel, none of the major candidates are any different. And that's a problem, because Israel in particular is not just one conflict. We stay in conflict in the Middle East to keep Israel safe. And so we're constantly destabilizing the Middle East for that purpose. They claim, it's for all these other reasons. We all know the real reason. And so if you support Israel endlessly, then you are in support of endless wars in the Middle East. Constant fighting of terrorism, existential crisis. If we don't fight them over here, then we're going to have to fight them over here. And it's just never been the case. They said that about Afghanistan. If we don't do it over there, they're coming over here. Okay, well, where's the Taliban? We did end that war, and where's the Taliban? Are they here? Did we feel like when we ended that war in Afghanistan that our lives were all at risk of the Taliban coming here to the United States? We're going to have to fight them in the streets of Dallas, Texas. So it's just rhetoric, continues on. Anyway, more of Trump's VP picks. So let's see here. They're saying maybe Kevin McCarthy as Trump's chief of staff. That's interesting. I didn't think he really liked Trump. So they're saying that none of the VP picks circulating have impressed Trump much, and his list of options has only grown longer instead of shorter. Trump said a while ago, that's why I don't believe RFK Jr. when he says, I know my candidate and I'm going to make this big announcement. You're going to be thrilled. Because Trump said something similar recently, right? He said, I already know who my VP candidate is. It doesn't really matter. But then here we are and going back and forth like it's a game show, The Apprentice. You're fired. That is what is happening here. But here's an interesting one. Tulsi Gabbard is one of the top contenders on the Trump shortlist for VP. Now, according to reports from the RFK Jr. campaign, Tulsi Gabbard was in the running for potentially his VP pick, but she stopped cooperating with the campaign, quote unquote, was the term. And it was because she started, I guess, cooperating with the Trump campaign to potentially be selected as Trump's VP pick. So Tulsi Gabbard is in the running for Trump's VP, and apparently, according to this article, her dad is not happy. As Tulsi Gabbard joins Trump's VP shortlist, her father distances himself. Of course, you don't really know what to believe with these types of reports, but it is interesting, and I want to bring this up because it shows a lot of flipping and flopping. And that is what Tulsi is known for, unfortunately, is flipping and flopping and saying the things and doing the things that are politically expedient and not because they come from a place of actual integrity. Again, much to my sadness, because I was also a really big Tulsi Gabbard supporter. I've learned my lesson. I hope you have too. I've learned not to get excited about any political candidate because at the end of the day, they're all politicians, no matter how great you might think they are. And if you want to be excited by somebody who's running for any office, then you're just going to have to run yourself. So during a speech at Mar-a-Lago early this month, Tulsi Gabbard embraced MAGA talking points and compared the Democratic Party to evildoers and dictators. So she's using the language that speaks to MAGA. Conversely, her father, a political powerhouse in the Aloha State, remains one of the largest serving Democratic senators in the Hawaii legislature, leading to some awkward dynamics within the Gabbard family. Quote, I don't have time or the information to be involved in that political circus, Mike Gabbard recently told USA Today. Quote, I feel that I'd be out of place talking about it. I've never had a clue as to what's going on there. So he's not really saying much, about Tulsi potentially becoming Donald Trump's VP. What's interesting about this, though, is that Mike Gabbard was a Republican for a really long time. He does have, I believe, a really traditional stance on marriage. He actually had an anti-LGBT organization, and that was called Stop Promoting Homosexuality. That was the name of the organization. It's a nonprofit. And Tulsi actually worked with that nonprofit organization. And then when she was running for president as a Democrat, came out with these extremely heartfelt apology videos saying, I'm really sorry. So she, which now, those types of stances in her past work better for the Republican Party. They're not against her staunch, more conservative ethics, more conservative morals. And that's fine. If she is a conservative morally, I don't have any problem with that. I don't like the flipping and the flopping. I don't like being supportive of that nonprofit only when you then run for Democratic president to say, oops, sorry, I really apologize, to the point where her dad came out and said, she said in her video when she apologized, she said, my father was very outspoken. He was an activist who was fighting against gay rights and marriage equality in Hawaii at the time, and I forcefully defended him. But over the years, as I grew up, I formed my own opinions based on my life experiences. Then her dad, after she released that video apologizing as she's running for president as a Democrat, he then said, quote, I never realized how much trauma I put her through because of my overly aggressive advocacy for traditional marriage. But now she's running, she's trying to go for a Trump VP slot, which means she could go back to having that really strong stance on traditional marriage. And in fact, this video that she put out apologizing for it almost goes back to bite her in the ass when you're running as a Republican. So the flipping and the flopping is really, it's just unflattering. Now, I was a big supporter of Tulsi when the Democrats treated her the way that they did, which was just really abhorrent because Democrats, it's that party's crap. There's no redeeming that party. I even personally encouraged her to go and look at the Republican Party, just like I did with RFK Jr. Like, why not look at them? And I didn't mean in either of those situations to join and change your rhetoric and change your stances on things. You don't need to. What I saw and what we all saw during this 2016 primary was that the Republican Party is malleable. You can actually, anybody seems to, because they clearly do still have a democratic process, you can actually infiltrate the Republican Party, get in as a Republican like Donald Trump did, and just claim to be one. And the party completely has shifted. All these Republicans are, the establishment Republicans are up in arms saying, well, I don't recognize this party anymore. Right, because Donald Trump infiltrated it, brought in his own ideas that weren't traditionally Republican because he saw a way to run. So I was suggesting to Tulsi and to RFK Jr., there is a slot there. As long as you're honest and as long as you're going to fight for the people, the American people, as long as you're anti-war and you say, look, we got to do things to raise up the middle class in the United States. We got to get rid of all of this nonsensical wokeness. That's totally fine. This stuff is just hamstringing us. We need to really build our country. Stop focusing on wars. Stop focusing on stupid stuff that, all the woke stuff, and move forward. That is a message that resonates. And you could even have positions that are not quite traditionally Republican, just like Donald Trump did, and still be extremely popular and convert people over to the Republican Party who are independents or who are formerly Democrats. And that's the way you could totally do that. But instead, what's happened with, RFK Jr. decided to go independent. Fine. That makes sense because Trump is clenching the nomination anyway. There was no chance for him there. Tulsi Gabbard, on the other hand, I think she could have embraced the Republican Party without embracing all of their rhetoric, without having to flip on everything that she apologized for as a Democrat, all the things that she said when she was a Democrat. You don't have to change. But honestly, I don't think she is changing. I think she's just being more authentic now, to be honest with you. But how do you know? How do you know when a person is flip-flopping all the time? But I think when I looked back at her history as a Democrat, when she was running as a president on the Democratic ticket, I did feel like she was actually morally conservative. That's the impression I got, that she genuinely was morally conservative, but was pretending to be more liberal because she was running as a Democrat. So even if she's being more authentic now, like I said, hard to know. Is she not? I don't know. And that's the problem. So, but interesting, she's on the short list. So again, Trump doesn't have the same deadline that RFK Jr. has when it comes to VP, picking his VP and naming his VP. Trump he's going to be on the Republican ticket, or he's going to be on the general election ticket in every single state. There's no issue there. In order for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to have his name on all the ballots in the states, many of the states require that he name his running mate as part of the requirements for getting on the ballot. So he has to name his. So, we will wait with bated breath. Who is this person going to be? Is this person going to be a giant disappointment? A name we don't really recognize, kind of like a what the moment? Or is this name going to be really, truly shocking? Somebody like Rand Paul, I think, would be a big one. Or like a Thomas Massey. The issue for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., though, is that any name that I think is going to rally the people to be really excited about his ticket is going to come from the right. And so the question is, with the VP pick, it's challenging because you've got to pick somebody who's going to pull equally from the right and the left, because otherwise you're going to be accused of being a spoiler rather than a true contender. And what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. needs to do to not be considered a spoiler is he needs to pull equally from both sides. He's got to pull equally from Democrats and from Republicans, which he has been doing as an individual. So his VP pick is going to be really important to continue doing that so that he doesn't, they're going to accuse him of it anyway, but you don't actually want to be the spoiler because you just won't get enough votes. There's just no way. He needs it, not just the rhetoric from the mainstream. They're going to say it no matter what. But he needs, if he's going to be a true contender, to pull from both sides. That's what he needs. So we'll see. We'll see who he names. Hey guys, be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you like this segment. Now, you might be wondering, this seems like it's part of a bigger show. You're right, it is. The full show is at KimIversonShow.com. So what you're watching is just a clip. And if you want to get the full experience, then you got to go to KimIversonShow.com. The show airs Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. That is where you can watch the full show. Here, you just get clips. So click on the link down below, go to the full show, enjoy. Otherwise, I'll see you next time right here. And be sure, once again, like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.